Welcome to the world of Tekken, where fierce warriors, deadly bears and kangaroos from around the globe come together to become the King of Iron Fist. Today we won't be talking about the Mishima family's feud, but instead our focus will be on the Jaguar masked wrestlers with the hearts of gold known as King. As one of the original cast members, King has been one of the vital characters of Tekken universe. Wearing Jaguar mask to hide his identity, boasting a move list with over 200 different moves, King is undoubtedly one of the most iconic characters of the fighting game genre. I'm Arcade Out here, and today we'll dive into the story of King, or maybe I should say Kings. From the original King of Tekken 1 and 2, and then King the second from Tekken 3 to Tekken 8, I'll talk about these kind-hearted wrestlers who fight for a greater cause. Before delving into King's journey in each Tekken game, first let me give you some of the background stories about the original King. As you might have guessed, the Tekken universe has two different Kings, one being the original who participated in the first two King of Iron Fist tournaments, and the second King that has been with us since the launch of Tekken 3. The first King used to be a street-brawling Mexican orphan, a troublemaker most of times before he was saved by a priest of an orphanage. After being saved by the priest of the orphanage who healed King's wounds, he realizes the error of his ways, and as an orphan himself, he dedicates himself to this orphanage by becoming a priest himself. However, the orphanage had no supporters and King needed money. Desperately, he knew he had to do something. For his dream of building an orphanage for street children, hoping to save them from becoming a fighter just like him, he wore the mask of a jaguar to hide his identity and fought in countless wrestling matches, acquiring the title of Beast Priest. During this time, King caught the attention of his future rival Armor King, who plays an important role in King's journey. Early in his career, King accidentally crushes the eye of Armor King during their match, causing Armor King's career to plummet. With this, their rivalry was about to change into something different. Later on these events, as King continued to participate in wrestling matches to fund the orphanage, he learns about an extraordinary fighting tournament that is called the King of Iron Fist tournament. Differing from Kazuya Mishima, King's motive to enter the King of Iron Fist tournament was to earn the prize money for the orphanage. Seizing the opportunity, King wears his Jaguar mask and enters the tournament, led Armor King to participate as well, so that Armor King might better his rival and reinstate his name into the wrestling world, earning his reputation back. Before the clash between King and Armor King, let's talk about King's moves and playstyle. King has always been known for his powerful and flashy wrestling moves, mixing different command grabs according to the flow of the match. As King originated from a lucha libre wrestlers of Mexico, involving grappling and throwing opponents around the ring. And during early Tekken games, King's moveset was relatively basic, consisting mainly of throws and simple strikes and heavy damage kicks. King's main evolution starts with Tekken 3 with more complex inputs and grappling attacks, but until that, King kinda feels a bit sluggish when compared to other characters as well. As two wrestlers with Jaguar masks met in tournament, King emerges victorious once again, however without any resentment between them. By the end of King of Iron Fist tournament, King claims the third place, securing enough prize money to fund the running of the orphanage. During his arcade ending, we see King watching the orphanage as the children in the orphanage run out to greet him. King raises his arms triumphantly, the orphanage is saved, King and Armor King become friends and sparring partners by the end of Tekken 1. Everything was perfect, except the church realized King's participation in the tournament and excommunicating him. During the memorable opening cutscene of Tekken 2, we see a tall, dressed man heavily drinking in an alley, with Armor King appearing and throwing the Jaguar mask at the feet of the drunk man. After the events of Tekken 1, as King is excommunicated by the church and the orphanage struggling, King turned to drink his worries away. However, the breaking point for King was the death of a child in his care. Luckily, Armor King was there to show what he has to do. Armor King was just worried for his friend and persuaded him to resume his training for the upcoming King of Iron Fist Tournament 2, organized by none other than Kazuya Mishima. Although he decides to participate in the tournament to regain the children's hearts and to pull his life together, canonically, King loses in the tournament and teaches the orphans his fighting skills in a manner of self-defense. Well, to be honest, I'm not surprised that King lost in this tournament, since Tekken 2's King felt like the worst version of Jaguar wrestler. Although he gained some new moves, their frame and also their damage lacked kinda impact as far as I felt. During his arcade ending, we see a similar cutscene to Tekken 1. King is shamed by his loss in the tournament, leaving disappointed, preparing Christmas presents for the children of the orphanage. However, the children are quite cunning. They rush to greet him, jumping around. Papa King raises his head in happiness as the cutscene ends. And so does the tale of the first king. Since there are 20 years between the events of Tekken 2 and Tekken 3, we assume King participated in local wrestling matches, training the children of the orphanage. However, what we know is that our Papa King was attacked and killed by Ogre, the god of fighting and the antagonist of Tekken 3. With the original King's death, another orphan takes his place, as Armor King becomes his mentor. This orphan will wear the Jaguar mask himself and take on the title of King II, continuing the first King's legacy, battling for the future of the orphanage. Until the age of 24, heir to the throne worked hard together with King, until the first King's death. Seeing that the orphanage would go bankrupt without King's support, he swears to realize King's dying wish, taking over the orphanage, supporting it as a pro wrestler. However, wearing the mask and imitating the style was not enough, since he had only seen King's wrestling moves when he was a child, and he lost every competition he entered until Armor King heard about King's death. As the orphan puts on the Jaguar mask of his idol, he was ready to be trained by Armor King, and out of the respect for his friend, Armor King was ready to forge a new king for rightful revenge. After 4 long years have passed, seeing that the King II is now skillful wrestler just like the first king, Armor King tells his student that the Ogre, the god of fighting, was responsible for King's death. It's interesting how much Armor King cares about the original King here, since it's stated that Armor King breaks down in tears as he tells about this, giving King II a new purpose in life. After hearing about the news of the King of Iron Fist Tournament 3, King II entered the tournament to see how well his training would pay off against the toughest fighters in the world and to have his revenge against Ogre. The appearance of King II caught the attention of every player, especially with its white Jaguar, the casual costume of Tekken 3. This new young king brought lots of new grapple moves to its list, turning King more into a MMA wrestler type, alongside his multiple grappler moves that can turn into a combo. We don't know about King's place in the third tournament, however we know that he did not become victorious. During his arcade story, we see him facing off against another luchador wrestler, while Armor King watching his disciple. As King finishes the match with a win and earns the belt, of course he looks for his mentor to celebrate. But not seeing Armor King around the ring, King quickly rushes to the locker, only to find Armor King without his mask, sitting weakened by his heart disease, thinking about the first king. This scene was quite obscure when I first saw it during my childhood, but when the relationship between the first king and the Armor King was considered, it had more impact this time. But later on, the first king's friend and King II's mentor and foster father was murdered.
Armor King was murdered. King swore upon Armor King's grave that he would seek revenge against the man responsible for his mentor's death.
By a mysterious valet tudo fighter during a bar brawl. Losing his mentor and father figure, King swore upon Armor King's grave that he would seek the revenge against the man responsible for his mentor's death. Learning that the murderer was currently serving time in an Arizona state penitentiary, King uses the money that he had won on professional wrestling matches, paying for the man's release from the prison, and mailed him an airline ticket and a newspaper article featuring the King of Iron Fist Tournament 4. With his plans in motion, King headed for the King of Iron Fist Tournament 4 to await his sworn enemy, this Vale Tudo fighter. In the arcade story of King, we meet with the killer, Craig Murdoch. Both King and Murdoch clashed in the tournament, and the match ended with Murdoch being hospitalized by King. After using the money to bribe the judiciaries to release Murdoch, finally King had his revenge. Or maybe not, since we also see King during the epilogue cutscene entering the hospital room to kill Murdoch while he was sleeping. However, when King saw the picture of Murdoch with his parents, he had a sudden change of heart. He just walks away, giving up on his quest of vengeance. With the end of Tekken 4, King's story becomes more entangled with Murdoch's. This battle for vengeance would later on turn into friendship for both, just like how First King and Armor King's relationship turned out to be.
King, a wrestler with the spirit of two champions. After beating Craig Murdoch, he followed Murdoch to the hospital to kill him. Then he realized revenge was not the answer.
However, Murdoch was enraged. He couldn't just accept his loss to King. He wanted to have a rematch, and in order to achieve that, he entered a tournament wearing a replica of Armor King's black Jaguar mask. Beating all of his rivals and then turning to the camera, taunting King, telling him he is next. You can just easily imagine how furious King was. This time it was more than personal for King. He gladly accepts the challenge where they would meet during the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5. During the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5, King first encountered Julia Cheng, who was aware of King's vendetta against Murdoch. Although Julia tried to convince King to not to seek revenge, King was King after all, as he first ignored and then defeating her, pushing on to his match with Murdoch. However, just like his idol, King II has a heart of gold. Even though both Murdoch and King fought one another, at the end, King extended his hand to the beaten Murdoch.
You win!
You can do it!
Exchanging handshakes of respect after the match. Murdoch accepts King's hand, never to betray his Jaguar masked friend again. They are not like Heihachi and Kazuya after all, not one bit, as we see King being beaten by a tag team of wrestlers during his epilogue, as he retreats to his corner to tag Murdoch to join the match. And make no mistake, this video is all about Kings, but Murdoch is one tough son of a bitch. Giving enough time for King to recover, our newly formed duo finished the match together with a flashy move, becoming the champion with a happy end. Or maybe not. Although Murdoch earned a friend in King of Iron Fist Tournament 5, he also earned an enemy that is probably not so merciful and forgiving as King. Upon returning from the ring, Murdoch was ambushed by someone dressed as Armor King. And as you can guess, King was indeed once again furious. Both vowed to find the culprit during the events of Tekken 6. While the world was surrounded by the flames of war that started by Jin Kazama, King received an invitation from Murdoch to join him in the King of Iron Fist Tournament 6. According to Murdoch, this new Armor King would appear to challenge them both. In order to unravel this mystery, King decided to take part in the contest. Also, don't forget the prize money that King needs for the orphanage as well. And as you know, Tekken 6's arcade mode can be a bit weird when it comes to rivals you match against. and during King's arcade mode we never get to fight against the Armor King. But the plot thickens during the epilogue scene. During this ending scene we see King dropping a framed picture of Armor King and then discovering another mysterious photograph showing two Armor Kings side by side. Later on, this plot is again handled by Marduk's arcade ending as he digs up Armor King's grave to check if he was really dead. As soon as he opens up the coffin, he is confronted with the very same Armor King that attacked him. However, without any further explanation, the cutscene ends. The plot about the Armor King becomes one of the main character developments for Marduk here, as we learn that the very same Armor King that attacked Marduk was the original Armor King's older brother. This new Armor King tells Marduk he can never forgive him for killing his brother, as both Marduk and Armor King fought one another and both ended up unconscious and critically injured.
Don't lie to me. I killed him with my own hands. What the?
This new Armor King must be around the same age as Kazuya Mishima, or maybe older than him, I guess. And you know who tries to help these both wounded men? That's right, King does. Desperate to help both Marduk and Armor King, while trying to keep his orphanage well funded, King enters the King of Iron Fist Tournament 7 to earn the prize so that it would help him to fund all of these. During King's story chapter of Tekken 7, we see King fighting against Jack 7. And when King defeats the massive android Jack 7, his opponent gets up and tells King that all of his moves have now been analyzed, and now able to defend against King's all moves. At that moment, King has an idea of how to defeat Jack 7 by using the moves of both Marduk and his mentor, Armor King. And with that, King's journey reaches to the point of Tekken 8. There are some unanswered questions about Armor King and Marduk, but they will also be answered in their own videos in the future and probably in Tekken 8 as well. And with the war between the G Corporation led by Kazuya Mishima and Mishima Zaibatsu led by Jin Kazama, the number of orphans that needs King support increased heavily. King may be the undisputed champion of the wrestling world, but he will need to put on a spectacle far beyond the bright arena lights if he is to earn the funds required to help all of those orphans. And on the other side, there is still a feud between Marduk and Armor King II, so that means Tekken 8 will present more about their side either. At the end, from the first king to the second, they have become a symbol of hope for orphans as well. They are more than just a Mexican wrestler with jaguar mask, and I can't wait to play as him in Tekken 8 to practice new grappler moves and to see what kind of a new stuff he offers. As always, thanks for watching today's video, and I really thank you for your comments, your critiques about my recent Kazuya Mishima video, and I hope you enjoyed King's journey as well. And as next, well, I promised I would do a video about Kami, didn't I? So I think I'm gonna focus on that, but if you also have any suggestions, be sure to share them by the comments below, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter and subscribe to my channel for more content, as I plan to make such concepts for other game genres and characters as well.